Getting pictures of these events unfolding is very difficult, and so that's why it's become key to trawl through YouTube and also several blogs that follow the drug trade. And there are several things that have turned up over the last week which shows us what's happened. Now, in one of these videos, we listen and we can hear here the volume, the intensity and the duration of the gunfire. I mean, if we just listen there for a few seconds, we can hear what a heavy firefight this really was. And then there's another key element that we need to check out on this video as well. Further on in the video, we can see a huge convoy of SUVs maneuvering through the streets, and this really is how the cartel gunmen operate in Mexico. They're cruising through the city of Matamoros day or night, and sometimes these trucks are even marked with the cartel insignias to avoid confusion with rivals. And the convoy we see here of SUVs really does clearly appear to be the cartel convoy that is involved in the firefight with Marines and Army at this stage. Now then we move on to another video. This is the scene where Tony Tormenta actually died, and this video offers us clues to the kind of weaponry that was involved. We can see that a huge hole has been blown in an upper wall, and the rest of the wall is heavily pockmarked. Now, a private security source that works in that area that I've been talking to tells me almost certainly that 50 caliber heavy machine guns have been used here, and almost certainly 2 rocket-propelled grenades. We can certainly see from these images that this was not a surgical strike against the cartel, but it was an absolute slugfest, an out-and-out battle on the streets of a city just of 500,000 people just steps away from Brownsville, Texas.
Now, let's just stop for a moment and look at where this border town is, the town of Matamoros. We'll bring up the Google map, and it's a border town. It's located very close to the border of Texas. So what happens with the death of Tony Tormenta? When he's killed, how does that upset the balance of power?
Right. Well, the death of a top capo like Tony Tormenta really is the equivalent of an earthquake in the narco sphere. And right now, what is happening is the tectonic plates of the drug underworld are now shifting. I've been talking to a private security source who's worked in this region for years, and he says that what he expects is a period of infighting within the Gulf cartels to see who emerges as the supreme leader. What we're also seeing is from outside the cartel, a fresh challenge from a rival cartel known as the Zetas. The Gulf cartel and the Zetas were former allies, but they split in February of this year. And for the most part, the Gulf cartel had pushed the Zetas out of the region. But since Tony Tormenta's death, the Zetas have rapidly seized back control of 2 key strategic points towards the west within this same frontier state of Tamaulipas. The first of these key points is furthest west. It's known as Ciudad Mia. It's a city or a town key in strategic terms. As we can see, it's only about 3 kilometers from the US border, just a short hop across the Rio Grande. And at night, some local citizens have told me that the cartel here just sets up a pulley system and sends across bales of cocaine and marijuana across the river from Mexico into the US. So control of this town, getting control back of this town is really going to be very lucrative if the Zetas can hold on to this town. Move a little bit further along the border, and again, another Google map I believe we've got, the city of Miguel Alemán. Now, this is a larger city, about 16,000 people, and this is just across the border from Roma, Texas. This town was a key staging ground for the Gulf cartel gunmen, but private security sources tell me that since Tormenta's death, there have been running gun battles in the streets here at all times of day. Rocket-propelled grenades have been flying around. There have been grenade attacks, and that source now tells me that the Zetas here are firmly in control. All this, as we're saying, triggered by the death of one top capo, Christy.
It's incredible, isn't it? Because of the death of this one man, the maps are being redrawn. Is the violence spreading? Is it spreading to the regional capital, Reynosa?
Exactly. I mean, this is really the key question. What we can see is, or what we can anticipate, is that with this violence in Ciudad Mia, violence in Ciudad Miguel Alemán. We're already told that civilians are being evacuated from those areas because of the violence. It's not going to stop there. Really, the key prize here is the city of Reynosa. Now, that's a city of 500,000 people. Although I do have information about the situation there from private security sources, really the key thing here, the most telling thing here, is to look at Twitter. Now, I know you, since the kind of the launch of Twitter, have been a big fan. I really never have until I see things going on like here in Reynosa, where local civilians operating under aliases for their own protection are using Twitter as an early warning system. They're sharing information about fighting across the city and in outlying towns so that no innocent civilians, or as few as possible, run into these conflict areas. And another kind of key tweet that describes Reynosa for the last 6 months or a year, really, one tweeter here saying, things are so bad at night, not even the ghosts are going out. And then we move on to some others, and one says, I just heard an explosion a minute ago. Another colleague gets online there. I've now heard 2 explosions in the center. What's going on? And then a third person chimes in. I can hear shots or explosions. I've heard about 8 now. Anybody else hearing anything? So really here, Twitter in the front line as an early warning system, as far as possible, civilians trying to keep themselves safe and trying to let one another know what's going on, especially when the traditional media really aren't reporting what is going on here because of the dangers, Christy.